Hey, good afternoon, Automotive Aftermarket North America. Carm Capriato, week 293, the Town Hall Academy. It is your own personal webinar. Great topics each and every week. This week is no exception. What should we call a DVI? This is going to be a great episode. So glad you are here. I have a great panel. Clint White, Coaching with Integrity, Service Advisor, Coach, and Shop Consultant. Hello, Clint.
Hello, Carm. How's it going?
Great, man. Thank you so much for being here. Ryan von Steinem. No, Steinen. See, I did it.
Got it.
I told you I was going to goof it up, and I did. Ryan von Steinen, General Manager, JB Import Automotive Repair, St. Petersburg, Florida. Hello, Ryan.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Glad you're here, man. Adam Liu, Essential Auto Care, Middle Village, New York, 3 locations. Hello, Adam.
How you doing, Carm?
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're coming to you live from the sometimes called the Delphi Technologies Shopware Studios. I like to call it my Carm Cave. And, you know, I don't have air conditioning in my home, but it's awfully and always cool in my studio. So sometimes I just come down here to work. Good to have you here. Hey, if you're with us on social media, please give us a high five, a like, check in. But sometimes we get so much great comments from actually all over the world. We sure do appreciate you all being here. Hey, look, a high five to our great partners. Now, face it, your car count and your ARO are the first 2 numbers that tell you where your shop stands. And those are the first 2 numbers that Shopware customers see grow. Get more profits when you get shopware.com. Hey, with over 2,300 SKUs and 95% sales coverage on fuel pumps, Delphi has everything you need to replace your customer's fuel pump, from OEM quality pumps, modules, GDI pumps, and fuel tank cleaning supplies to instructional videos. Get started. DelphiAftermarket.com. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and thanks. So, guys, I remember hearing Clint talk about this, and I said, wow, what an incredible topic that we have to cover. I think acronyms to customer, hey, we did this DVI, we want to send it to you, and the customer's scratching their head. What the hell's that mean? I mean, we are an industry that has more acronyms than anything. We really do. And I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about the fact that we need to adopt and adapt. Should we talk DVIs internally and then make a mistake in the face of the customers? Do we have to change the culture in what we name things? But I got to tell you something. I was watching a commercial last night from a local Cadillac dealer. And you've seen these ads over and over. It doesn't matter what town you're in. You know what they tell you about their certified Cadillac? It goes through a 172-point inspection. And I'm saying, oh my God, this, thank you for showing the commercial, because we're having this show today. And maybe they should call it something different, because everybody calls it a 172-point inspection. And what's that tell me? Does that tell me that we put this vehicle in perfect health for a lifetime of service? What else could they really be saying? And that's kind of what we want to talk about here today. So, Clint, let's just, why not DVI?
Well, I think the term digital vehicle inspection, which is I think it served its time. It got us to where we're at right now. But let's break that down for a second. Digital. What is digital? I mean, do you have a watch? It's an outdated terminology that once stood for something modern and cutting edge. But let's be honest, it's kind of meaningless now to the majority of our clients. And then vehicle inspection, like you said, Carm, the Cadillac dealership does a 100,000-point vehicle inspection, a 28-point, a 12-point. Yeah, I don't know how many points of light we have to have in this. It's too ambiguous, and it's all too similar to that term state inspection, which points everybody towards a very surface level look over with very minimal standards that one's vehicle must simply pass or fail.
Totally agree with you. And Adam, you're in New York like I am, and we have to do inspections.
Yes, sir.
I guess people are used to that, but it's, in your particular case, the word inspection is just it's a passé thing.
Yeah, well, we do state inspections, and a lot of times when we are explaining, or in the past when we have explained our courtesy inspection process, people would get it confused with the state inspection. So then we would have to kind of like backtrack, and it would just cause confusion. And so I think that to your point, we work with a lot of industry acronyms as well as like industry speak, and even stuff that we still speak about in the shop. It doesn't really translate well to our customers and our clients, and especially for us too. One of the things that we kind of deal with is a lot of English being a second or third language to for a lot of our customers and clients, and so being more practical in terms of the way that we explain things to our customers and clients makes the most sense.
I love it. Thank you. We've already got people chiming in the words vehicle health report. So, we are perfect on this discussion. And although I believe the Top Shop operators have adopted some new names, what we need to do, and the whole purpose of what I do in advancing the aftermarket, is to get that next tier. Because the more we're all as an industry talking about it, the greater it is for us to continue the share that we have of 70% of vehicles out of warranty come to the aftermarket. But man, I tell you, I've been reading, they're coming hard after us. In fact, I even hear some dealership groups are going out and buying independents and just running them like that so that they can learn about what we do. So I think it's critical. Ryan, thank you so much for being here. You're on vacation and you found time to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
So you probably have the same feel. I mean, you guys are both on here because I believe you changed it from DVI to vehicle health, right?
Yeah. Shortly after taking Shopware and making that our new software, it became apparent that what we're doing is really different, and it's to a much higher level than we'd done before as far as the information we're sharing. So it made sense then, and I really believe it clicked from one of your previous podcasts. And I could be wrong, but the other thing is we're in such a big healthcare area. It seemed like it was a good adoption.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing how we. I've been going to the doctor a lot lately. This hurts, that hurts, and don't ask me the annual stuff. And this whole healthcare thing, Clint, I think you and I may have gone on ad nauseum about the parallels between what we do and the healthcare industry. That why not call it a health report? Because so many things can go wrong with the vehicle, and it can't call up the phone and says, "Doc, I'm hurting over here. What can you do for me?" It's our job to be proactive. We're the car doctors.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We have to treat every vehicle as though it is a patient. And so I really point towards when I coach shops to change the name of their DVI and how they present it. I really point them towards an in-depth vehicle health and safety evaluation. And if you live in a state that doesn't allow you to utilize the word safety, my condolences. But I truly believe that in-depth vehicle health and safety evaluation, the first thing it does is it conveys value. The challenge that we have is that many of us, I would say the majority of our industry, gives this inspection away. It is a lost leader. If you're a healthily run shop, you're paying your technicians to do said inspection, and they do a great job, but you don't charge for it. And so we're challenged in the fact that we don't give it the right verbiage. And so I'll say something that may challenge many of you here. Courtesy. How much is courtesy worth? It's a low value word. Free. Well, it's definitely a low value word. And so that's why I point towards starting it off with in-depth. What else is it? Cursory? Surface? Partial? No, it's in-depth. So I think it's important that we focus on the words that we use in this industry, not just straying away from acronyms, but making sure that every piece of verbiage that we implement conveys value to the customer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Guys, tell me if I'm right or wrong here. Let me repeat what he just said. In-depth vehicle health and safety evaluation. Oh, wow. Those are a lot of words. And if that customer didn't have their ears turned on and their attention being paid, they'd skim right over all those words. And so what I thought about, Adam and Ryan, was if you're going to use that and adopt that as your sell, then you have to say it's slow.
Absolutely. So one of the issues that we encounter is when we are speaking to customers and clients, depending on who we're talking to, we have to kind of change the pace in which we're speaking. We have to use different words sometimes because, some people just don't have the same command of the English language as another person. So you speaking slow is definitely a thing. Also using the right words. Also, just to as a counterpoint to what Clint was saying, in depth is great. However, I've also experienced where some customers and clients, they've gotten it confused with diagnostics or testing. And so, let's say, for instance, generally speaking, I mean, when we're performing a DVI or a multi-point inspection, as we would call it in the industry, um, it's relatively a surface level inspection, right? You're not taking anything off. We're not performing testing. We're not performing any sort of like truly in-depth kind of inspection. It's going to be everything from a visual standpoint. And so I found that a lot of times that has to be made clear to uh, some customers at the very least, because we've had instances where customers would come back to us and say, well, you have this whole write-up, and how come you didn't catch this when you did your inspection or your health check? And so I just as a like a counter talking point, in depth is great. I love using words that really describe what it is to me. However, it can be confusing or can be misconstrued by customers sometimes, and that's just what we've experienced. And maybe it's just a New York thing, I don't know, but
no, I would agree with Adam on this. Is when Clint says it, he's very well spoken. It sounds great, but I'm someone who's verbose in how I write service, which is writing stuff that's a presentation now. And I found through hiring people that are better than me, less can be more. And that's why I do like just calling it a vehicle health report. But I think those words that Clint's speaking about in depth need to be part of the conversation when you're speaking about it. But the simplicity is something I've been working on personally. So it sounds amazing from Clint, but I try to keep it simple.
Man, I hate to overcomplicate things. That's no fun.
Well, I do it all the time, so I'm constantly getting feedback about it. So,
like I can, to address Adam and both Ryan, everybody's got a little bit of a different viewpoint of what a DVI is, and I know that this particular episode of Town Hall Academy isn't really an in-depth view of what the DVI is, should be, shouldn't be, but I think it's worth at least throwing out there. Call it what it is to you. So if you are doing a cursory, visual only, very quick look at the only non-tool components of the vehicle, right? So you're popping the hood, giving it a gander, and checking some boxes. If that's what you do, definitely don't overvalue it. And I don't mean to offend, but don't overvalue it with words that absolutely ooze value. I can tell you that in the shops that I've run, it's an evaluation. That's why I call it evaluation. An inspection is just a quick looky look. An evaluation is a physical assessment, including a test drive of the entire vehicle performed by a seasoned expert technician, in which the condition of every accessible system in the vehicle is scrutinized, documented, and reported to the customer in an easily understandable format. And so amazing. That's the way I run a shop. That's the way I want to give. It's like going to the doctor. Can you imagine going to the doctor and he says, "Oh, we just do a courtesy inspection of you." What? But I want to know. No. We don't have time for that. You see, speed of service is more important than your actual health. And so that opens up a whole nother potential debate of how deep do we go?
I love it, Clint. That's I mean, that's great for sure.
You're green in all these areas. Well, doctor, how close am I to red?
Yeah. I think in terms of what Clint is referring to is, maybe we're talking about two different types of inspections. Just for instance, one of the things that I've heard thrown around in the industry is, the courtesy inspection and the paid inspection. How a paid inspection might be more of what Clint is speaking about like a total evaluation, and a courtesy inspection is less than that, because it is not something that you're having your technician spend as much time on and go over the same amount of things. So So I completely understand where Clinton's coming from. And if it's a paid inspection, then maybe in-depth applies a lot more.
So my question then would be, is if you have 2 levels of inspection, that's fine. But if you don't have 2 levels of inspection, where does that put you? How do you make that decision? And that's again, maybe for another show, right, Carm? But it really opens up the how do we make the decision on what to examine and to critique and scrutinize and document for our customer? Because here's my take on it, is that as an average consumer, when I go to the doctor and I get the full panel in the checkout and I assume when I leave, he knows what's going on. And if something were to fall off in the parking lot, I would question his integrity. So the same thing can apply in our industry. Is the average consumer, when they have had an inspection, a courtesy evaluation, whatever you want to call it, to them, they're the same. And so in my opinion, I believe that we should give as much as possible. We should provide as much information as possible. And so having 2 different inspections may be a business model, but it's one that I have a challenge in coaching towards.
Yeah, I want to stop here for a moment and tell you what I'm thinking. DVI, it is a tool. It is a great tool. I mean, just let's bless all the geeks sat in the back room and wrote this code for all these great companies. Okay. And Bill Connor from Auto Vitals, thanks for being on. Bill's always on with us. He always has some great things to say. And I appreciate you chiming in. But it's like, so this tool that we have, be it tangible or intangible, is called DVI. It's our way of describing what it is that we're going to do to the vehicle internally. If I went out and I bought this really neat, new, cool Autel scanner tool thing, I wouldn't tell the customer I'm going to do an Autel on your car. I wouldn't. And then we were struggling with the words diagnostics versus testing. What is it that we're really doing? People don't maybe appreciate the word diagnostics is too uppity, too high level for them to think. Say, listen, we got to do some testing. And that's the reason that I'm into this. Murray is with us, and Murray Voth wrote a great article just recently published up in Canada. And Murray is basically trying to say, we got to change the word labor rate to something else. And I know what it is. In fact, I wanted Murray to come on and do a show with me on it. But I think some of the terminology that we use in our business maybe has been lazy because it's the only thing we ever knew. And we never thought it felt comfortable to us, but does it really in the face of the customer? And that's why we're here. We're here to try to motivate people to do what you feel is best. Clint, you're 100% right. Adam, you're right. Ryan, you're right. You're all right. But I think what you need to do that's right is to change the name and just don't talk the words DVI and have somebody who's receiving your DVI sit around the coffee table and says, hey, look what I just got this DVI from my shop. And first of all, what? That should not be what you want people to say right away. I just got this, vehicle health evaluation. Woo, let me see it. What do they say? There it is. Murray broke the code. Facility service rate. Facility service rate, which is, I think, a brilliant idea on how to get the word labor out of the language of the consumer. But this is what we love to do on this show, right or wrong. We're kind of brainstorming some really good, great ideas. So guys, it comes down to explaining to the customer. So Adam and Ryan, when you talk to the customer, do they really understand what it is that you're doing and the value that they're getting?
I think it's something you have to explain with each and every person. And it's a little bit of a side of what we're talking about, but the term that I found really helps people connect it is cloud-based. Hey, we use a cloud-based system and we're going to send you a vehicle health report through this. And I think cloud-based is so common for us to talk about in our world that people really, that clicks it in. And it's not something I did. It's something one of my advisors started doing a year and a half ago. And I came out to him like, cloud-based, like that's so simple, but that's really what's going on. So that piece helped, but I do think it's very important as I'm sure you guys do too, but to explain this to each and every person as they come in.
That's
Yeah,
genius.
I mean, yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Yeah, absolutely. I think the devil is in the details, right? I mean, it's fine to name anything what you want, and that definitely certainly helps describe what we're doing better. However, we have to give explanations as to what we're doing, and that's really where it helps. When we tell a client that we're going to send you pictures and videos and a detailed explanation of anything that we have recommended for your vehicle, it goes a long way. And it's usually, we usually get the, oh wow, I get pictures and video, and because if they've ever been anywhere else, if they've got an inspection anywhere else, it's usually just a checklist. Sometimes it's on paper, and that's still very prevalent around here. I think we're still probably one of the only shops that perform DVIs in our area, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. And you know, it's always the explanation that is 95% of what they understand versus just the title. But certainly, I think, you know, deeper discussion, but industry acronyms are not for customers and clients, and we probably should stop using them as much as we do. And I still every day have to kind of correct my front end staff about saying word tech and diag. They'll still use those terms. Yeah.
Hey, listen, I want to take a quick break, come back for segment B, give a high five to our great sponsors. Why wait to order parts until a car is in your shop? We shop where you can see if you're short on a certain part before you even open the RO and pre-orders so that you never have to wait. Talk to my great friends at getshopware.com. Hey, did you clean the fuel tank the last time you replaced a fuel pump? Well, contamination buildup in the tank not only impacts the vehicle's performance, but it can also damage the fuel pump. Clean the fuel tank in 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, with Delphi Technologies fuel tank cleaning tool. Learn more at delphiaftermarket.com. It's another service. I'm going to clean your fuel tank, charge for it. Okay, wow. Couple of things. It's sad that you're the only guy in your area, Adam. And again, Bill Connor, I know you would know this stat somehow, or maybe even my friends from Shopware that may be on, but what's the percentage of the industry that has adopted and is using the features of digital vehicle inspection? I'd love to know that. And is it 30% that you guys think of? I mean, think about the guys that you know in your networking. What do you think?
Know, I would say this is separate from my networking, but we do hose repair at the shop I'm at, and I've been around to 100-ish local shops in my area, and few of them even have a adequate computer system, let alone a vehicle health report. So I think when you talk in groups like this, you're talking with the top shops. You really are, and people that are listening to this are interested in being a top shop. I think there's a ton of shops that don't have anything close to this.
Yep. And Carm, I mean, we live in a bubble here in New York City. I'm in Queens, and I mean, I've lived here my whole life, you know. So I've been everywhere around the country. I've networked so many shops. I'm in Transformers, so I go to group meetings with great shop owners, and it's a bubble. We have a lot of shop owners here that are just not leveraging anything that the industry has to offer, especially the new stuff. You know, I mean, we've been doing DVIs probably since like 2012, 2013, something like that. And I literally don't know another shop around here. So if anybody's from New York and wants to connect, you know, hit me up. But yeah, I don't know another shop that actually leverages vehicle inspections in a digital format or you know, anything of that nature. And some of them are even using quite archaic like shop management softwares, or none at all still. And,
okay, I got a tough question for you. Is it the boomers that are unwilling to adopt it, or is it just the hobbyists that also can't see value?
For us here, I think it's also a cultural thing where we have a lot of shop owners that are you know, they might be from another country, and they might not be as familiar with technology, or you know, they just have a certain way of doing things that is potentially different, or you know, what we would call old school, you know, and
Right.
that's still very prevalent here.
Bill Connor did chime in. He said, not enough. As I asked the question, what's the percentage? He said, not enough, but no longer an early adopter thing.
Yeah, he's right.
And think of the leg up that you had when you did get in and on it. And still to this day, Adam, if you're the only one in your area and you have discerning customers, and another point that Bill did make, what's the perception of the customer of what we're doing here? Adam, I guess my question, and Ryan, what if you stopped tomorrow doing DVIs? What would happen?
People would ask right away. It's a term we've been using for long enough, and it's so important, you know, that they know the value. Where's my report? So it does happen occasionally where an advisor writes it up, and for us, a health report is a separate line item. And it does happen occasionally, and a tech gives it back, and it's like, oh man, we've got to fix this. So it's not efficient, but we do the health report then.
Bill agrees with you. Look at that.
Yeah, I love having a customer come in and they're I call them a repeat offender. You know, a client that just keeps coming back, and they'll sit down for their oil change appointment and hold their phone out and say, "Now, Clint, no whammies this time. Okay, it was all green last time, and so no whammies." And that probably dates myself a little bit. But what we do is we set the expectation with them that this is what we're going to do, because let's be honest, guys, we don't sell repairs, we don't sell fixes, we sell peace of mind. Think about that for a second. All the services that you do, we sell peace of mind. What is the greatest tool to give peace of mind? But something that is proof, data, fact, pictorial evidence, and an easy to read red, yellow, and green format. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's certainly. I could never not do DVIs now. Never. I mean, it's so ingrained in our processes and the way that we do things. But not only that, like it's part of who we are in terms of trying to present a professional. Projection of who we are to our clients, to the general public. And I honestly, I don't even have an answer for you other than I just can't imagine it. It's just not something that I would ever think that would even be possible.
Okay, Adam, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm
Sure.
going to try this thing.
Sure,
I've never done this before. Well, I've done it, but I've never done it. I'm a new customer, and I'm standing at your counter. Hey, I heard about you guys. Glad to be here. And I'm not really sure what's wrong with the car. I haven't had a look at it in so long. And you say?
Well, great. Hey, welcome. And since you've never been here, I would like to tell you that we have something where we're going to be able to take a look at your whole vehicle. We're going to be able to send you pictures and video and detailed explanations from our technicians, and they're going to be able to tell you everything about your car that you might not know about. So if you've been to other places, they haven't performed any type of service like this, whether it be what they call multi-point inspections, you're going to get that here. So we'll be able to show you everything, and I think you'll be really happy to see that. And by the way, also, just in case you didn't know, this gets emailed to you or texted to you, depending on which you prefer. And all you have to do is follow a link, and then you can see it right on your phone or your computer.
Pictures of my car? I mean, underneath it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's as close as we can get to having you stand right next to our technicians, so that they can explain the things on your vehicle that you might not know that's going on.
Adam, why does this matter to me?
Well, I mean, if you didn't know that you had some, like, let's say, for instance, if you didn't know that you had an oil leak, or that your ball joints or your bushings are in in a state of disrepair, we're going to be able to tell you that before there's a huge problem that might affect your safety or even your wallet. It's the professional thing to do. It's just like how you might go to the doctor, and you would expect that they're going to tell you if there's anything that's really wrong with you, that they can tell from taking like your blood pressure, or checking out whatever they do during that initial evaluation. So
Yeah.
so we try to do the same thing for you, except with your car.
And Carm, one other thing. I know you would never share your blood report with your friends, but you would sure love sharing your courtesy inspection check with your friends and let them see all the cool stuff that we look at. Thank you. It was a great role play. Thank you. Thank you so much. How'd I do, Clint?
You know, I think for your first time wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I know. Amazing, amazing. All right. Hey, look, no acronyms. Let's call it what it is. And how do we get more people in our industry? Okay, the top 20%, the top 1%, the amazing top tier of our industry does this. And why are we so far behind the curve? Hey, Murray, since you're on with us and you're out of Canada, what's going on in Canada? Is it still a small percentage? I'd love to know, Murray.
You know, Carm, to address the question that you had for the audience, like how do we get the 80% to adopt this?
Yeah.
How do we move beyond the early adopter phase? Yeah, we're a decade past that, guys. This is not new technology. The challenge is that we are in an industry that fears change. It absolutely fears change. And I remember when we went from OBD1 to OBD2, I worked with guys who freaked out when we went from carbureted to fuel injected, when I started in this industry a long time ago. And this is just one more thing that I believe a lot of shop owners, technicians, service advisors don't feel equipped to utilize, and it's looked at as a waste of time. It's going to make the speed of service extremely slow. It's clunky, and they just haven't seen what it can do for our industry. And I think that in previous podcasts, you've had people on that have said that what this does is it removes that veil from the automotive industry. There's a veil of secrecy that we work under. That's why we have this the stigma of being thieves and rip-off artists, because we're in a great place of influence, and yet we don't prove what we say. So if you're a shop listening right now and you work on a paper-based inspection with no pictorial evidence, and you present to the customer, think about it from this perspective. And I just do a real quick, not even a role play, just a quick scenario. I tell my customer, hey, Mr. Customer, your transmission fluid, it needs to be replaced. It's dirty and contaminated. All the customer has to say is, well, how dirty is it? I look at this piece of paper and I can tell that my technician, he scratched on the red check mark really, really hard. So it must be really dirty. And in that moment, in that sales moment, we are forced to make an ethical decision as salespeople. If I have not physically witness the condition of that transmission fluid, how can I answer that question? And I can tell you that many choose to answer it unethically and say, oh, Mr. Customer, it's really bad, when they haven't seen it themselves. And that right there, this is one of the things that I push for, I preach for, is how can we raise the bar of ethics in our industry? And I believe the DVI does that. So if you're a shop owner on the fence right now, if you're, I don't know, it's a waste of time, think about it from an ethical standpoint, where you don't put your advisors in a position where they have to embellish to sell. What I teach my clients is say, Mr. Customer, as you can see in the vehicle health evaluation you received, the transmission fluid is black in color and in need of replacement today.
Guys,
that's good.
Let's come back after this next really quick stop and talk about the ethics that DVI brings to us. Great, Clint. Thank you for that. Hey, checking your balance when you close is a real pain, unless you have day-end payments from Shopware. It tallies up all transactions and puts your mind at ease when you see your daily snapshot. Talk to my friends on the web at getshopware.com. Hey, when you turn to Delphi Technologies for your chassis needs, quality is always forefront. Materials and dimensional enhancements, as well as 700 hours worth of salt spray testing, goes into each and every chassis part produced. Visit DelphiAftermarket.com to see over 8,000 chassis parts Delphi has in stock. Every time I hear that, Tracy, that Game of Thrones theme on the back of that, So thank you for bringing up ethics, Clint. Adam, Ryan, tell us. And again, we're not here to sell DVI. We're just here to tell the rest of the industry, get caught up. Come on, let's do this. How are we going to ever take over the world as an independent aftermarket if we don't put these tools in play? And that was my little political speech. But let's talk about a little bit of that, Anna.
Well, one of the things that I always push is, you know, tell the clients, tell the customers that it's by performing a DVI, we're providing transparency. I tell everybody on the team that I don't personally want anything sold without pictures, without some sort of explanation as to why something is needed. And that's what we tell our customers. Like, we're never going to recommend anything to you without showing you and proving to you that you need it. And so, you know, if that's pictures of brakes that are obviously in need of replacement and an explanation from our technician as to why they need replacement, it's not just a tool, but it's absolutely, it's just transparency, you know. Because of course our industry has, you know, we have the stigma, we have the black eye of selling things that you don't need, and you know, we don't do ourselves any favors. So any shop that utilizes digital vehicle inspections, utilizes any type of visual inspection process that has a good documentation procedures, they're just going to be selling transparencies, and that's what we want, you know. It's kind of interesting. I obviously in my role, I interview lots of automotive professionals for employment here, including technicians and advisors and managers. And one of the things I ask them is, hey, you know, does your shop or does your previous employment, did they perform any type of inspection process? And I'll get the mixes of no's, and I'll get some yeses, and then when I ask them more in depthly, it usually comes out to some sort of informal system, and there's absolutely no type of proof outside of maybe the customer being in the shop and as a waiter, and then them bringing them out to the shop. And so I think that, you know, in terms of ethics and digital vehicle inspections, you can't run from things unless, I mean, you're going to have make some elaborate show to sell stuff that a customer doesn't need, you know, showing them pictures of like brakes that aren't their car. But I mean, I don't think that's the actual issue. I think really what it comes down to is we're going to be forced as an industry to actually sell and recommend the things that we can prove that our customers and clients do need.
Here's my takeaway from what you just said: transparency equals trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. There's a saying that I coined a long time ago that I push for, that on every vehicle that comes into my shop, if it can be known, it will be known, and if it's known, it will be shown. And what we want our customers to have is a very clear understanding of their vehicle's overall state of health before they obligate and agree to even $1 of any repair. How dare we replace brakes that are nearing the minimum limit today when maybe a differential is full of chunks of metal, but you know, we don't check that. I think it's so imperative that we go as deep as possible on every car every single time for that level of transparency and trust that Adam pointed towards. Absolutely agree.
You had mentioned earlier, if your state won't allow you to use the word safety, explain that to me. I happen to be an outsider on knowing that.
So I've worked with clients in states such as California, in which the word safety is at minimum frowned upon. And so when you point towards safety and you sell sell that component that is unsafe, I have been told, again, I have not read state regulations, but I have been told even by shop owners to please don't coach that to my advisors, because they can't say safety to a customer.
It could be a liability issue, is what
could be a liability issue. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but at the end of the day, who's the expert? Who's the expert that evaluates and critiques whether something is safe or not? Do we let the customer decide if it's safe? They're not the one educated in vehicle, right? That's us.
Wow.
I think we have to be able to say that.
Kind of Clint's point here, because I agree with everything that's being said. And I tell customers at the beginning, I'm like, we have a bad rap, this industry, about transparency. And we do, like Adam was noting, anytime there's a problem, there's a photo and there's a note about it. But the thing I think helps us, and we've just started this too, is, and one tech started this on his own, is he takes a selfie at the front of someone's car. So you got a Audi, he takes a selfie with that badge. Hey, I'm Eric. I'm your technician today. I'll be working on your car. Thanks for bringing in a JB Import. People have come back to me. They don't even know Eric's name. And they've said, is the selfie guy going to work on my car today? So I think knowing who is working on your car has a value to it too. And so this is something we're working on now, where all technicians will have an introduction that's a little bit customized for each customer. But I really think it's being transparent and building that relationship. And that's a next little step there that helps.
Going back to the transparency thing, I just wanted to kind of make mention of something. And maybe this is like a New York thing. I know I've said a lot of New York things. But, you know, I've never trusted anybody that says, hey, you can trust me. You know, I'm honest, right? And so I think what DVIs do for you, really what it comes down to is, the customers and clients come to that conclusion by themselves. You don't want to have to tell people, hey, we're honest. You can trust us. We're trustworthy. The proof is in the pudding, you know, so we show people what they need on their cars, and that is a natural byproduct. And you can't really get that in the same way unless, you know, at least in a measurable, reoccurring kind of way, without having something like DVIs, you know, because customers and clients come to that conclusion by themselves.
Yeah, trust and ethics, to me, seems to be one of the reasons that you want to have a DVI system. It's just my takeaway. Guys, let me challenge you with a thought here. Somebody brought up this whole lawyer thing by saying the word safety could be an issue. And so safe and reliable transportation, if I spoke that, or somewhere there was a sub-slogan of my company where we create safe and reliable transportation, is that an opening for a lawyer to come in and say, well, you said safe and reliable and it wasn't?
That's a deep question, and I don't have my legal counsel here with me to answer.
I don't either. Yeah. I mean, so just an opinion from Adam and Ryan, shop owners.
That's tough. I had someone I did a brake inspection for 5 years ago, and he hit someone. This was before we were doing vehicle health reports, and he killed an old couple. And I had to go to court and, testify there. And we had the documentation of what we had done, and there was no issue they could identify in the vehicle, you know, so that helped us out in that scenario. But I don't know, that's not a scenario I think about, because Florida's so lawless comparatively to these other places.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, compared to New York, for sure. I mean, liability is always something that is in the back of a business owner's mind, right? Especially as shop owners, because we're dealing with someone's vehicle, and you know, we never want to put anybody in danger, of course. And so, you know, we definitely have to be sensitive depending on where we live and operate. But I think the best way to go about it really is you have to have a professional process and procedure on how you're documenting your findings from your inspections. Because of course, you know, when we're talking about lawyers, I mean, they're going to use anything to pick us apart, you know, if they're on the other side. And, you know, that's never going to change. But, you know, instead of just living in fear and not naming certain things, I think what's more important is really to make sure that, you know, our processes for documentation are ironclad. All of our staff, all of our team members are trained properly, and we're not going to deviate from that, so that if anything does ever happen, well, at least we know that we did the right thing, and we're covered in terms of making sure that we're documenting everything the correct way.
Wow, guys, I want to thank you all so much. I want to give you each an opportunity to have a last word. A couple of things. Oh, by the way, I wanted to make a comment as a big takeaway. The brilliant idea of the selfie.
Yeah.
And I would love to know how many shop owners are saying, hey, get in front, you know, if it's a quick video or it's a picture with some words below it. That again, you talk about building a relationship. Oh, and the guy comes in the next time, he says, hey, can Pete work on my car? You know, I really liked him. It looks like he did a great job. He told me everything I needed to know on that car.
Well, we've had Google reviews that mention that guy's name. Then Eric did such a great job on my car. Nobody ever did that before because they didn't, or it was rare, right? That they knew the tech's name. So
yeah, Ryan, Adam, it's the guy behind the curtain. Nobody gets a chance to know.
Yep.
And he's pulling every right lever to send you to Kansas.
Yeah, that was absolutely a great. I made a mental note of that. I'm gonna pose to the team. I mean, we got some shy guys that work here, but you know, I think that's a really cool little thing that you're doing.
Well, you know, again, I think another beauty of what we do here on the podcast is that so many. When I go to meetings and I'm hanging out with a bunch of independents, I do ask the question: how many here are doing, you know, legit, real, cloud-based digital vehicle inspections? And you know, there's 20 guys in the room, 5 hands go up. And then and then bold old Carm will go and say to somebody across the room, so why aren't you doing it? That's what I do, right? I'm not selling software. I'm curious and I want to know. And you know what I hear, guys? My guys won't do it. And then I say, who owns the business? Obviously, the owner's not sold on its power value. And to my point, if anybody is struggling with that, just let your people listen. Have a lunch and learn. Let them listen to this episode or watch this episode and let them go through the entire thing. Buy them lunch and sit down and says, we're not leaving until we go to the end. And then I want to discuss what we just heard. Look at these top shop operators rocking and rolling. What did we say just 2 days ago in a meeting? You know, we're not sure our relationships are strong enough with our customers. Well, what do we need to do about it? And it's not like you have to buy and spend and learn and train on the digital vehicle inspection piece of software, but think of the residual value that you get from that investment. And you're jumping on board. We're a high-tech industry. Why aren't we using a cloud-based high-tech thing?
Yeah, I mean, simply outside of this discussion, I mean, for shop owners, you're just going to make more money. So why don't you do it? It's better for everybody anyway. I mean, you know, we could talk for hours on why we do it, how ethical it is, how great it is for our clients and our internal operations, but you just make more money. So do it. That's it.
Adam, I love you. This is great. He's just telling you straight up, guy, without slapping you in the face. He just nicely told you you're going to make more money. And listen to the stats that we constantly hear about where the average repair order goes when you stop and spend some time and pay attention. Thanks for those last words of yours, Ryan. Any final last words?
I think all those details matter. And Clint's kind of shifted my focus a little bit today about maybe how I do it. But I wanted to add at the end, because you guys liked it, but the guy with the selfie has a $200 average repair order higher than the other 2 technicians he works next to. And he's not any better. It's just how he does it.
Oh my God. I mean, come on, man. Thank you. There's another big drop. Talk about a take. Oh my God. That's great. Clint, sum this up for us, man.
Well, I tell you what, we started this conversation with the intent of unpacking standardization of a term. Why should we or shouldn't we call it a DVI? And if not a DVI, then what? And there's been a number of things thrown out there, all great points, valid stuff. But I want to point towards something, and maybe this will be a to be continued ... Is shop owner Keith Katz from York, Pennsylvania made a comment here quite a while ago that essentially I'll summarize that we need a standardization process for the inspection in our industry. Have you ever had a client come into your shop that has previously been to other shops, and the other shop, you can tell the quality of the work was terrible? You can tell that they just missed the mark severely. And you being the better high level top 2% shop, well, you can say, obviously we do things better. Reverse those roles for a minute. If your inspection process is lacking, whatever you call it, if it's lacking, that customer will end up somewhere else one day. And if they put your process to shame, whether you're using a digital inspection, whether you're still stuck on paper, I think it's pause for thought and reconsideration on how we do things. So I would, again, just encourage the industry. It's time. Let's do this for all the right reasons.
Thanks, Clint. I think it's absolutely worth having the ... continuation. Keith Katz said specifically, this is one of our issues in this industry. Every shop has their own idea of what a DVI is. We all need to come together on this.
Yeah.
And, I guess it was a competitive advantage to have this early on, the early adopter syndrome. But now, if it gets too loosey-goosey, it won't have value for anybody. I mean, you have to build and create it on your own, which is cool, and I love it. Ryan sharing his idea about the selfie idea. But if our customers end up not seeing a value in what we're doing, then everybody does it differently. It may not be sticky enough to make us an alternative to the dealer. It's a great point. Oh, guys, thank you so much for being here. Clint White, Coaching with Integrity, Service Advisor, Coach, and Shop Consultant. Thank you for this. So appreciate it. Ryan Von Steinen, General Manager, JV Import Automotive Repair in St. Petersburg, FLA, the state that has no laws. And Adam Liu in the state that has all kinds of laws, from Essential Auto Care, Middle Village, New York, with 3 locations. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Carmen.
Thank you.